Alright guys, hello and welcome to another edition of Let's Roll Dungeon Talk. I am Jesse. I am one of the DMs for, I am the DM for the Let's Roll live table game, and I play Darius in the On a Roll game.
There is a message for you.
And I'm also normally the hands that you see when crafting for Let's Roll DM Crafts. So, joining me tonight for this series so far has been Anthony. Say hi, Anthony.
What's going on, Internet?
And Joshua.
Gonna be bringing you the meat and potatoes of actions in combat.
Woo. And then joined always with Josh, who is right now playing Arson at the live table, and he is the DM for On a Roll. Say hi, Josh.
Hi, Josh.
So we are continuing our discussion on which chapter?
Chapter 8.
Yeah.
I think.
And that is
9. I'm sorry.
9. Okay. Something like that. And we are talking about actions and combat. So we're going to pick up where we left off. If you're watching this on YouTube, don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the notification button. Also, join us every Wednesday night at 8:30 Eastern Standard Time. And you can join us in the chat, say what's up, talk with us a little bit. We'll answer any questions or just be part of the conversation. Yeah. So that being said,
if you really wanted to get wasted on Wednesday night, you could start a drinking game where every time we get off topic, take a shot.
We do not condone alcohol poisoning. Thank you.
I do.
Jesse definitely does.
Just personally.
No, not for other people. Just for ourselves.
True that. True that, yo.
That's when an alcoholic snake bites you, right?
Yes.
Okay, well then we're good.
Yeah.
Because there's no alcoholic snakes here.
I have one upstairs. He is a problem.
Sounds like a personal issue.
Yeah.
Yeah, his name is Frank and he's in his bed right now.
Been trying to get him off the sauce. So yeah, let's pick up where we left off.
Alright, so if you are playing along, that's your first shot.
Yep. That's one. So yeah, let's pick up where we left off and start to read from the book. Tonight will be Josh. Go ahead and read what we're talking about, what we're starting our discussion off with.
We are starting with actions in combat.
All right.
When you take your action on your turn, you can take one of the actions presented here, and an action you gain from your class, or a special feature, or an action that you improvise. Many monsters have action options of their own in their stat blocks. When you describe an action not detailed anywhere in the rules, the DM tells you whether that action is possible and what kind of roll you need to make, if any, to determine success or failure. Similar to the action of jumping and pole vaulting off someone's hands to grab a gargoyle flying in the air, yanking him down, and then having a druid pounce him.
Yes.
Shadowbrook and Elaine.
Yeah, so this.
Is Shadowbrook still alive?
Yeah.
Jesus,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Shadowbrook technically is still alive.
I don't think anyone actually died yet in that.
Nope. No, someday we'll...
Oh, well, I lied. Zane did.
Yes.
I mean, they did, but it was like a long time ago. A long time ago,
Bunch of Becky's characters.
died.
Bunch of Becky's characters.
Oh, Vladimir Putin died as well.
Vladimir Putin.
And whatever Chase was playing, that paladin.
No, Wayne didn't die. He's still alive.
No?
No, he just became a horrible drunk.
You guys brought him back, okay.
Yep. Yep.
As far as my character, no, he's died.
Everybody died.
Poor puppy dog.
Yeah, he just became a severe alcoholic.
Anyways.
That's number 2. So, outside of, obviously your attack roll, you can do anything that you want on your turn. It's just your DM's just gonna have to figure out how he wants to do it. That being said, so if you take an action, you can't oh, it's my turn, I'm gonna run up a dragon's back, shove a bottle of poison in his mouth, and then jump up and down on his head so that he swallows it. That's a little much.
But you can shove your arm in a werewolf's mouth.
True. This is true. But you're gonna just remember, when you're in combat, the whole combat round, that whole action sequence round, meaning your action, your movement, and your bonus action, lasts 6 seconds.
And your reaction.
Yes, and a reaction if it's a reaction is technically on the other person's turn.
Yes, but all the turns happen
simultaneously.
So
yeah.
So in a 6 second space, you'd have an action, a bonus action, a movement, a reaction, and any free action that you wanted to take.
Yeah. Which,
like we talked about last week.
Yeah.
Which is a lot, but
yeah.
I mean, realistically, in my opinion, turn should be more like 10 seconds, but that's,
Yeah, I mean, that being said, 6 seconds isn't... Granted, it's not a whole lot of time, but it's definitely not... It's not as quick as some people think. 6 seconds... 6 seconds is a long... It's a longer time than most would think.
Right, I don't disagree with... Well, I agree with what you're saying. Movement is kind of weird because it's like...
Yeah.
I can't move that fucking quick, so I don't know.
Well, then again, we're not like elite.
Yeah, we're not
superhuman warriors. We're guys that ate too many Twinkies.
I don't know about you, but my fucking dwarf ate too many Twinkies too, so...
Which is why he only has 25 feet of movement. Has nothing to do with his size.
He definitely has squat nimbleness.
So yeah, I mean, it's like, this is where, like, this is the one place where I have like a problem with the whole rule of cool, because like something could be really awesome and you want to do it, but it's like when somebody says they want to do something, if it's going to take more than 6 seconds, I'll allow it, but this is what's going to happen. You're going to do half of the action now, then it's going to be their turn, and then they're going to do what they do, and then when it gets back around to you, then you can finish what you were doing. If you can.
Yeah, I mean, most people I play with, and me myself, stick within like the defined actions and whatnot that they're,
Yeah.
you know, part of their class features and things like that. I don't play with anybody that tries to do anything crazy. You know what
No,
I mean?
not really.
Be right back.
So
Not really. Most of the time, like especially in combat, you're kind of sticking to the, you know, um, if you're not really doing anything, you're probably holding an action
mhm.
or just moving. But you know, that's the rule of cool is cool, but it has to be realistic. It has to be as realistic as it can be in a fantasy game in 6 seconds. That's what I mean.
Yeah, I mean, I would just, I would say, you start wanting to do things in combat that are, to me, you're gonna start giving up, like, actual like attacks and whatnot.
Yeah. And that's what you'd be doing. I mean, think about like, during combat, you want to make a perception check. Well, that's an action. If you're trying to make a perception check while in combat, or an investigation, um, perception's a hard one though, because like if you're just like looking around, most of the time though, if they're just doing like a quick perception, I'm gonna tell them general shit unless they like really want to look for something. If they're looking for something specific, then I'm taking your action. But you know,
Yeah, I
We
mean that.
That's one of the things we get into them.
yeah,
Yeah, that's something that is very situational. And to me,
yeah,
like honestly, like, if somebody tells me, "Oh, I just want to look around," like that's just your passive perception to me
yeah,
personally.
yeah,
If you're looking for something specific, if you're like, I want to see if the guy I'm fighting has 6 fingers on his right hand or whatever, like,
yeah. The difference between how does this guy look and does he have, you know, does his sheath have, like, what does the sheath on his for his sword look like? Like those are two different, you know. Like, yeah, he looks banged up. You can tell that. You can tell that within a second of combat.
right, right, right.
Versus, can you notate what he's wearing? How many chest hairs does he have? That's
Yeah,
that's
it depends. It depends a lot on. It depends to me, anyways. It depends a lot on how the player asks the question.
yeah,
If they say, "What's the sheath on his sword look like?" That's gonna be a perception check. Um, if but if they, like, and this is to me where, kind of some of the work goes into it beforehand. If they know that, like, for instance, just pulling shit out of the air, they're like, oh, I know the bad guy has a black scabbard and it has a silver dragon embossed on it, and they're
yeah,
like, I want to look to see if the scabbard matches that description. Most of the time I'm going to give them an advantage because they're looking at something very specific for something very specific.
yeah. But I'm still taking their action to do it.
Yeah, absolutely, but I'm
Yeah,
giving them advantage on the roll
yeah,
because it's, you know what I mean.
yeah. Well, I mean, it's just like that being said, it's just like we were talking about, investigation checks and things like that. If you tell me that if you're telling me you're investigating the room, this is the DC, right? Your DC's
Right.
up here. If you tell me that you're looking specifically at the table and there's something in the table, the DC goes down
Yeah.
because now you're looking. That being said, like if you're looking at something very specific, I'm giving it to you. I'm not making you roll. You know what I mean? Like I want to see what's in the desk drawers. Well, if there's nothing hidden in the desk drawers, I'm telling you what's in the desk drawers because you're going through it. to find that hidden compartment, it might be a little harder. But the DC is going to be even harder if you're just saying, I'm just investigating the room.
Yeah, there's a lot of circumstance that goes into it, and there's a lot of if this then stuff, and yeah.
But yeah, I mean, combat wise, if you're looking for a hidden creature, I'm using your action to try to find that hidden creature. Things of that nature, things that would stop you in combat. You know what I mean, or slow the speed of combat. You're not going to do a full investigation while you're in the middle of a sword fight. And if you do, chances are you're going to get stuck in your butt. So, yeah, just remember 6 seconds, and it has to make sense in combat. Now, if you're a wizard and you're standing 300 feet back, then yeah, by all means, go ahead and make your investigation check. I'm still taking your action to do it, but you have the space, you have the room, do what you want to do. But yeah, that's just me. Actually, it's not just me. That's kind of what the book's saying. Not even kinda. That is what the book's saying. What's next?
Well, the book also says that the most common action you take in combat is the attack action.
Right.
Whether you're swinging a sword, firing an arrow from a bow, or brawling with your fists. All those things are attacks.
Yep.
I mean, with this action, you make one melee or ranged attack. See the making and attack section for rules that govern attacks. Certain features such as extra attack, a lot of people get extra attack.
Yeah.
If you play D&D at all, you've probably seen it.
Yep.
Feature of a fighter, allow you to make more than one attack with this action. I mean, it's not just fighter, it's fighter, paladin, ranger.
Fucking artificer.
Yeah, artificer, depending on, a lot of
one of them's a bonus. Stop it.
For what?
The attack.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it depends a lot on your sub. I mean, some of the bard subs get it.
Yeah.
I think one bard sub gets it.
Everybody gets it.
Everybody gets it at some point.
You get an extra attack, and you get an extra attack.
I think even wizards at level 19 get extra attack because they're like, fuck it. If they want to hit somebody with a staff twice, they can. I'm being completely fucking sarcastic.
That's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna make a wizard, drop all my scores into con and strength.
Just do like a 15 evocation, 5 arcane Eldritch Knight rather.
There you go.
Get your extra attack. You can attack and cantrip, all that bullshit.
For days.
Anything here?
No, I mean I think that's pretty straightforward, right? You're making an attack. You're using your action to make an attack. Now that being said, that attack action, extra attack.
Extra attack.
Extra attack versus an extra action. Okay?
Okay.
Two different things. An extra attack is one extra attack. An extra action is a whole round of actions. Remember that.
You mean in terms of people who have extra attack wanting to attack and then do something else? Or what,
yeah. I mean, it goes for a lot of things, right? So like action surge.
Uh-huh.
Right? You get an extra action. Meaning you can do a whole round of attacks again.
Correct. Absolutely.
Yeah. So that's what I'm trying to. Sorry, maybe I didn't. But that's different than you get one extra attack.
Yeah. I mean, I do know that people that, in my opinion, are just being pricks. But whatever. I know that they interpret that a little bit differently, but if you take specifically we're talking about a fighter because we're talking about action surge.
Yeah.
Once you take that action surge, to me, you can do anything with that action surge that you would be able to do in a regular attack.
Yep.
Now, what you don't get is an extra bonus action, an extra movement, extra reaction, etc.
Right.
Okay, you get an extra action. On that, to me personally, the way I read it, the way I don't honestly see how you can do it any other way unless you're just trying to gimp your characters.
Yeah.
I get 2 actions. If one of my actions is 2 attacks, then I get 4 attacks. I can choose to say I want to attack and use all my attacks, action surge, and then I want to take the dodge action.
Yep.
Whatever I decide to do, I get another attack. Period. Anything I could have done with my regular attack, regular action, not bonus action, not movement, regular, anything that costs an action, I can do with that action surge. But yeah.
Yeah. I just wanted to clarify that because that bothers me when I see that too. But whatever.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, I think really what it comes down to is because, like, and to me, like, Xanathar's talks about this a little bit. There's rules, but then there's specific instances where those rules don't apply. It's not always defined. Xanathar has a whole section talking about specific versus general.
Yep.
Because I've seen people say, the rules say if you cast a spell with an action and then you multi-class or you're an Eldritch Knight and you have action surge and then you action surge, you can't take another spell. To me, you can, because but that's
I would think that you could. I don't see why.
There's a rule in the spellcasting section that says if you use your, like, for instance, if you're a sorcerer and you use a spell, if you use a leveled spell, if you fireball with your action, you can't then quicken another fireball. If you cast a spell, like a leveled spell, the only other thing you can do in that turn is a cantrip. Exactly. To me personally, if you action surge, you get 2 spells. But I mean, that's up to the DM's discretion. But that's, if you're going to use the resource, you should benefit from using the resource.
Yeah. I'm agreeing with you on this one. Because it's not the same turn. I mean, it is, but it isn't. Right? That's an ability. It's an ability given to the class. Mm-hmm. That basically gives you another front end turn.
Yeah, it's literally, I mean, I don't really feel like looking up the exact wording, but it's literally saying, like, you summon the energy to do something superhuman, essentially.
Yeah.
Okay, well, casting 2 spells in the same turn is superhuman, so
yeah. I would allow it. I would definitely allow it. Yeah. Yeah, no, that's... What's next, Josh? Unless anybody has anything to add to that. I mean, I think that's pretty self-explanatory.
What were we at? Attack?
Casting a spell. We got through attack. We're now on casting a spell.
Okay. Just making sure, because I'm playing along, so I'm in, 2 bottles deep. No.
Oh, come on, Josh.
Let's see. Cast a spell. Spellcasters such as wizards and clerics. Why are those the two that are? Man, book's racist. As well as many monsters. What?
It's classist, not racist.
I mean, whatever. It's all the same.
Yeah, it'd be racist if it was specifying an elf wizard.
An Italian elf wizard. What?
It's getting weirdly specific.
Yeah. Italian elf wizard.
So,
I guess that a fireball.
Yeah. It's a giant meatball on fire.
It's a big spicy fireball.
So spellcasters, as well as many monsters, have access to spells and can use them to great effect in combat. Each spell has a casting time, which specifies whether the caster must use an action, reaction, minutes, or even hours to cast a spell. Casting a spell is therefore not necessarily an action. Most spells do have a casting time of one action, so a spellcaster often uses his or her action in combat to cast a spell. See Chapter 10 for the rules.
Yeah, I think we're gonna get more into this when we get into spell casting because I mean, this is it. You're basically attacking with a spell.
Yeah, I think it is really important, and this kind of covers both cast a spell and attack. It's really important to pay attention to what type of attack the spell or the attack is asking for. Ranged, melee.
Yeah.
Attack. Spell. That dictates what bonuses you're using, what types of rules you're applying. If it's a ranged spell, disadvantage if you're close.
Yep. Also, you remember the type of spell, right? Concentration.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure that you let your DM know that it's a concentration spell because I don't have all the spells memorized.
And remind him 3 or 4 times because he tends to forget.
Well, if I put the little marker thingy on it, I won't. I mean, I probably still will, but not nearly as much.
Yeah, I gotta say, I don't have much experience with casters, so concentration is something that doesn't really.
Yeah.
I forget about, basically.
Yeah, that's me too. You know what I mean? Like I've only really recently started getting into casters, so.
And then you look at it and you're like, wait, that's not concentration. Spirit weapon. Yeah. Spirit weapon's not concentration. What are you talking about?
Yeah. Yeah, and then there's some weird ones, right? That are.
Yeah, there are.
Like spiritual weapon isn't, but hunter's mark is.
Is it really?
I'm pretty sure hunter's mark is concentration.
That's crazy. See, I would have taken the concentration off, honestly, just because it's a ranger specific spell, and it's not like rangers kind of get the fucking shaft anyways, so give them a little bit of help.
Well, that's because rangers suck.
That's kind of what I'm saying. Is like give them the hunter's mark without concentration, so that they can maybe cast something else. I don't know. I mean,
that's like while we were playing. I just made my character, so while we're playing, he was like, do you want to get in on this archery contest? I'm like, I don't even know if I'm proficient in bows. I'm proficient in firearms. Didn't find out until like an hour later. Okay, by the way, I am proficient in bows. So why make a ranger when you can have a cannon and a bow?
There's no reason to make a ranger. Ever.
Nope. No, unfortunately, I think we had this conversation an episode or two ago.
We will.
It's like anything a ranger can do, you can do it better with a different class.
Yep. Oh, no love for the Ranger. That being said, they're Gloomstalker, and there are things to be said about the subclasses, but the class in general sucks, and you should never do it.
Yeah, it's it almost feels like it should be like a fighter subclass or something.
Yeah,
It
whoever
is.
wrote whoever wrote 5e was just like, who I really hate?
Fucking Aragorn.
Yeah.
Fuck that fucker right in his ass.
I mean, don't fighters have one that's like arcane archery? So they're like archers who can cast magic. Like,
What I mean is, like, to me, the primary feature of what like a ranger is that whole like favorite enemy, favorite terrain. Like you get those special bonuses. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
To me, like, you almost put that into like a fighter sub and make that like your ranger. I mean, that's.
Yep.
I don't know. It's just such a. Now, and I think I said this before. If you roll a ranger and you're in the terrain that's your favorite terrain often, you're fighting the things that is your favorite enemies often, makes up a lot of that. But
That being
not,
said, drink.
then Dash. Yeah, when you're a ranger, one of the things that you can do, like most classes, well, like all classes, you can take the dash action.
What is the dash action?
It actually, essentially what it does is it doubles your movement for that turn. You
Wow.
gain extra movement for the current turn.
Extra movement?
Extra movement.
How much extra movement?
You double your speed, so whatever your speed is, like most characters, is 30.
Did you say 30. Doubled?
You get 30 more feet.
So wait, instead of 1 pill, it's 2? Oh wait, wrong. No, sorry.
No, I don't think that's. We're not there yet.
Oh.
That's the alchemy section.
Yeah.
With speed, the increase equals your speed after applying any modifiers with a speed of 30 feet. For example, you can move up to 60 feet on your turn if you dash. An increase or decrease to your speed changes this additional movement by the same amount. If your speed is 30 feet and is reduced to 15 feet, for instance, you can move up to 30 feet this turn if you dash.
Yes.
This is, not saying it's the only time you see it, but I see it a lot in the beginning of encounters, trying to close gaps, trying to get position, etc. And honestly, after that, it doesn't really come up that much.
Or getting a kind of dodge.
Well, no, dodge is a different one.
I used it a lot in combat.
Yeah, I mean, if you have a class that lets you use it in combat as a bonus action and things like that, that's different. But like most characters aren't going to be like, I can move 30 more feet, or I can cast Firebolt. I'm going to move 30 feet.
Yeah.
It's just not going to happen that often.
Yeah. No.
Situationally, sure, but I'm talking, generally.
Yeah. For the most part, in combat, you're using it to close the distance or back away from it. And that's normally like the first, second turn.
What I will say is, and this is something I see a lot of newer players, not necessarily a mistake. I mean, it's your character. If that's how you want to play it, that's cool. Say they move their 30 movement feet, and then, they say, well, I can dash from here, but I can't attack at the end of the dash, so what's the point? If you're melee, you should want to be in melee, because it means that the enemy can't move now without provoking an attack of opportunity.
Yeah.
So if you're moving towards the enemy and the enemy is moving towards you, and you close that gap first, it gives all of your ranged people more room to maneuver, and usually it's going to lock the enemy into somewhere where they don't have as many options at that point.
And that's the thing, is your frontline fighter, that's your gig, that's your job. close the distance, protect your squishies. You know what I mean? Like, protect your squishies and protect the guy that does better at distance. Because that's not your job is to close the distance. Theirs is to shoot from a distance.
Hmm. I just wanted to mention that because I do see that a lot.
Yeah.
If you're the tank, if you're melee, use that action, use that dash, even if you can't attack at the end of it. Now, situationally, if you feel like you're gonna get gang banged on the end of that, maybe you don't want to, but
Or you do.
that's probably gonna happen regardless. So
Yeah, I mean, you're gonna move 30 feet, and then it's gonna be their turn, and they're gonna move 30 feet right in your face.
hmm
So keep the distance, right? Because now they're 30 feet closer to your squishy friends. That's my opinion.
well, and additionally, they're gonna have more opportunity at that point to position how they want to.
Yep.
And their squishies are gonna have room behind them to move. I mean, imagine like a game of chess. If you start on your side and I start on my side, and then all of a sudden I get to move all of my pieces 4 blocks ahead,
Yeah.
or whatever, that puts you at a significant disadvantage because you don't have as much room to maneuver, and I have more room to maneuver.
Yep. Yeah, and that's the thing. That's what I like about D&D. It's also why I don't mind Theater of the Mind. I don't. I enjoy it at times.
You hate Theater of the Mind, Jesse. What are you talking about?
But looking at the grid squares. Like every time that grid square comes up, I think like chess. The only difference is, I'm only one piece. So I'm really hoping the rest of the pieces are going to move the way that we need to move.
Until Baldur's Gate 3 drops, and then I get to beat all the pieces. Don't need you suckers no more. No, I'm just playing.
Or you just run right down the stairs and, and punch a hag in the face. That's.
I mean, I was asleep. I don't know what you're talking about. Fuck. Can we skip this week?
Nope. I am
not gonna,
super excited for this week.
I'm not gonna be there. You guys figure it out.
I'm super excited.
Summer's gonna get back and be like, "What the fuck are y'all talking about?"
Yeah, she's not even gonna start playing for the first 2 hours.
Oh man.
If even. I'm already starting a new character.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, dash. You'll see it more used as in conjunction with other abilities.
Yeah, there's quite a few, especially deeper in the trees. Different martial characters get to, if you move so far, you can take an attack as a bonus action. In that case, maybe you moved, and then like we were talking about before, you moved and then you dashed, and then as your bonus action, you're allowed to attack. I believe Tiger Barbarians have that. I think Cavaliers have that in the fighter.
Yeah.
There's quite a few classes. Well, I don't know about quite a few, but there's a couple classes that can use dash as a bonus action. Rogues come to mind. I believe monks have a.
Yeah, they got to use a key point.
I don't know. Maybe there's a bard or something. Cleric. I don't really know. Honestly, I don't know this classes well enough.
Yeah.
But you can do those types of things. You can achieve something similar with Misty Step.
Yeah.
I always play with characters and they kind of forget that Misty Step is a bonus action, if I remember correctly. So.
I believe so.
Yeah,
Josh, fact check.
Movement, Misty Step, attack,
bonus action.
Whatever you need to do.
Yeah, I love Misty Step.
Misty Step is amazing, basically.
Yeah. One of the best spells in the game.
Underused as well, in my opinion.
Absolutely. I haven't gotten to the point where I had it yet.
Right.
But when I have it, Lord knows I'm going to use it. Especially with a ranged character. Come on.
I mean, honestly, like, I think the best use of Misty Step I've seen is actually out of a Vengeance Paladin, if I remember correctly. Is that one of the ones that get Misty Step? I don't.
Yeah. I believe.
He was fighting a flying creature and Misty stepped
Hell yeah.
onto the flying creature's back, and it was pretty pimp.
Yep. That's what I would do. Dragons flying, get me close. That's what they did on the guild. The guild. There was a gargoyle that was flying.
Okay.
And they were just high enough that Misty Step wouldn't work. So what they did was they ran. Owain threw him up in the air as high as he could. Then they Misty Stepped, grabbed the gargoyle, and pulled him down to the ground.
Okay.
I allowed that shit.
Yeah, I think I would have had to make an athletics.
Oh yeah, there was like four
right.
checks. Yeah, no.
Okay.
There were dice rolls for everything. I just thought it was, okay, sure. Here's what you're gonna have to do in order to do that. You know.
And then
I'm sure that there were checks, but honestly, like, depending on who you're depending on to do those checks, like, they're not going to be difficult. Like,
oh, these ones were fun.
Well, they might be decent DCs, but like, you know, depending on who you have doing what, like, even a low-level fighter making an athletics check is going to be a +6, +7.
Yeah.
It's kind of what I'm getting at.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's where
acrobatics, strength, to grapple.
Mm-hmm.
Like it. Yeah, it was.
Yeah. No. There was 4 checks. It was acrobatics, athletics, strength, and dexterity. They had to pass all 4 checks.
You know how I feel about naked checks. But yeah.
Then at the very end, another acrobatics check.
Yeah.
As I jumped over Owain to pounce the gargoyle because I had it holding.
Yeah, it was interesting. I would allow that. What was nice though is they planned it. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Like, Owain held an action to do that. So
okay.
You know, like it wasn't. Okay, well it's my turn. Hey Owain, can you? No, it was like planned out. It was well planned out, well thought out. Absolutely insane. Didn't think it was going to work, and lo and behold, it did. So, kudos. Yeah.
I think that was the last episode where he was sober then.
Yeah. Yeah, he started drinking soon after that. What were we actually talking about? Dash.
Yes.
What's next?
Misty stepping up to a dragon.
Yes.
Dodge is next.
It's not. Disengage is next.
Disengage is next.
What is disengage?
If you take the disengage action, your movement doesn't provoke opportunity attacks for the rest of the turn.
Huh. Nobody ever does this.
Oh, fuck they don't. First time I'm playing with Jesse, he's got like 10 goblins just disengaging like little bitches because they get to do it as a bonus action.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Fucking bullshit.
Sorry. Let me let me elaborate.
Okay.
Unless you're a rogue or a DM, nobody does this.
Jesse's goblins are like the fucking deadliest things in the world. They should get like ×2 CRs or something.
They have their own I have my own page in the DM guide that's
Uh
just Jesse's goblins.
huh.
I love goblins.
I know you do.
So you're level 5. You walk up on a group of goblins. Roll initiative. This is gonna be easy. What the fuck? Enjoy, motherfuckers. I love
Yeah, I mean,
goblins.
we'll get to it later. There's something really specific you do with goblins that irritates me, but it's coming up.
Okay. Go ahead, disengage. So so basically you can use your action to get out of the way of combat. And like willingly and no, and not.
Yeah, basically, the way I've always pictured it is it's the difference between like I'm fighting you, I'm turning around and running away from you. You get to clock me in the back of the head as I do that.
Yeah.
Versus like, I'm facing you and I'm kind of defending myself as I get away from you.
Yep. Yeah. I just don't think this is used very often by anybody other than rogues. Because they can use it as a bonus action.
Right. I think it's one of those other things where it's like, you know, uh, in specific scenarios, disengage can be really useful. But most people, I want to roll my dice. Damn it.
Mm-hmm.
I want to attack, and depending on what kind of character I am, I think that's the other thing too. Because if I'm rolling with like an 18, armor class, it's like I'll take a chance. I'll take my chances.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if
And
my AC is 18 to 20, and I really just want to get away, I'm gonna use my action to hit you, and
yeah.
then just try to. I'll take the risk. Yeah.
Not to mention, couldn't you, if you were a fighter, especially one with multi attack, couldn't you attack and then like do a shove or something to try like because I don't feel like you can take attacks of opportunity when you're prone, can you?
Yeah, you can.
You can.
Yep.
Is it a disadvantage?
No.
I feel like there's got to be something there that's like.
No, because I mean, if you knock me to the ground, and let's say I have a short sword, if you knock me to the
Uh-huh.
ground, I can still swing at your legs.
I understand. I understand that. I feel like you're gonna be. I feel like it's not optimal to swing while you're. I feel like if swinging from the ground was the optimal position, then people would just do it by default.
Well, I only swing when I'm on my back.
I mean,
Yeah, I mean, no, I get it. Because that being said, if, yeah, yeah, no, I see what you're saying. Because this is how I'm visualizing it, right? Uh, Ranger with a longbow goes prone. You can't really shoot from the prone position with a longbow.
Not with that attitude again.
yeah, I mean, I feel like that personally to me that's something that would impose disadvantage, but I don't know
Yeah.
what Rawl is, so.
And now that I think about it, I don't think that I've ever dealt with that.
Let's see here. Effects.
Rona.
Conditions.
Encephalitis again.
Jesus Christ.
Prone creatures have disadvantage on attack rolls.
Oh, okay, there we go. It does say that.
So yeah, if you were a fighter and you had multi-attack, you could attack with one, or you could shove them down with the first attack.
Yep.
And then, you'd have an advantage on your subsequent attacks.
Yep.
And then as you tried to run away, you'd have they have a disadvantage on you. So
Jesus, I'm dying. All right, oh, I can't breathe now. Let's take a quick break. I gotta take care of this, or I'm just gonna sneeze the whole time. We're coming right
Okay.
back to disengage.
Now we're coming back to dodge because we're done with
Dodge.
disengage.
Yeah, oh. And we are back. So, we are talking about. We're at disengage now, right?
Dodge.
Dodge. Yes.
Yep.
The dodge action. Give it to me, Anthony.
Here we go, baby. When you take the dodge action, you focus entirely on avoiding attacks. Till the start of your next turn, any attack roll you made against you has disadvantage if you can see the attacker. You make dexterity saving throws with advantage. You lose this benefit if you're incapacitated or if your speed drops to 0.
I don't think that I've ever used it.
I can't say that I have. I may have when I was like frightened, but I can't remember 100%.
Yeah, I mean, I see the benefits, obviously, but if I'm in somebody's face, that means I'm there to do damage. And see, that being said, I haven't been a spellcaster for very long, so I could see the use as a spellcaster. Like somebody gets up close to me and I dodge, hoping that one of my beefier compatriots would jump in. But for that, I mean, even there, I would disengage because it makes more sense to get away from them than it does.
Unless there was a reason you had to hold your position.
Yeah, which I haven't been faced with yet.
Like I could see it. Man, I could see it in different situations. Like especially if you were like a polearm master and you were really trying to like hold a choke point, and you were just saying, "Well, fuck it, my DPS is gonna come from my attacks of opportunity or my attack of opportunity from polearm master or something like that." But I'm gonna hold this position. I'm gonna dodge so that they can't actually do anything to me. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I understand why to have it as a game mechanic, and it makes sense. But as an action, it's too pricey.
Yeah, I don't know if you ever played XCOM. I think it was the defend action in XCOM. But the difference is mechanically that game is you and your opponents are kind of searching for each other.
Yeah.
So like that's not how D&D works.
Yeah. I mean, again, the game mechanic, it's good. It's just yeah. So basically, you're expecting an attack, and like as an action, I wouldn't use it. A bonus action, I would.
Yeah, rogues can do that. I mean,
Yeah. Rogues and monks. Um, yeah, as a bonus action, but not as an action. I wouldn't. I don't think I would ever use it as an action unless, like, it would have to be really situational.
yeah.
Like hardcore situational for me to take it as an action. But yeah, I don't think there's much to say about that one. Do you guys have anything to add to that?
Not really.
All right.
I've never really seen it used. So.
Yeah, not as an action, as a bonus action for days, but Bo on Critical Role, she uses her key points to do, you know, patient defense but
Is that after? Is that after she,
yeah,
you know, uses 3 other bonus actions?
yeah, yeah. Don't get me started. I can't. I can't.
Well, I mean, if you're spending key points on it, you can have as many bonus actions as you want, right?
Moving on. Sweet Jesus. Yeah, let's move on. I'm not bad mouthing anybody today.
So yeah, another one that you don't see very often is the help.
Oh yeah, nobody gives a shit about other people.
Not in combat.
Not in combat.
Though this is where, strangely enough, this is like one of the ways that like Beastmaster Rangers, if they actually use it properly, are quite effective.
Yeah.
Because you can make your pet do the help command.
Yep. What does the help command do? Or what does help do, Josh?
You can lend your aid to another creature in the completion of a task. When you take the help action, the creature you aid gains advantage on the next ability check that makes to perform the task you are helping with, provided that it makes the check before the start of your next turn. Alternatively, you can aid a friendly creature in attacking a creature within 5 feet of you. You feint, distract the target, or in some way team up to make your ally's attack more effective. If your ally attacks the target before your next turn, the first attack roll is made with advantage.
I think this isn't used as much in combat as it should be for the simple fact of flanking. Because if you're within 5 feet of another target, for the most part, if you're behind them, or they would use flanking and they would get advantage either way.
Yeah, I mean, this is another one of those, like, you're using an action, and it's not even like you're using an action to give all of your party members advantage. You're just the next ability check.
Yeah.
So if I am helping you and you're a fighter and you have 3 attacks, you're only getting advantage on the first one.
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. I would use it. I would use it with if I'm a monk and I know that my D4s aren't gonna do shit, but uh, the barbarian that's next, he is.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty subjective, but I understand what you're saying.
You know what I mean? Like I could see how it would be useful.
I can see it. I believe that the Mastermind Rogue gets to do this as a bonus action.
Yeah.
Similar to a lot of the other rogues.
Yep. So.
Yeah, which is why I said, like, later on, this is where a pet would shine, because honestly, it doesn't shine anywhere else.
Yeah,
Like,
no. I mean, if your pet's beside you and it's using the help action before your turn.
Or you can send it to aid someone else.
Yeah.
This is, from what I read, like owls and like flying creatures, this is what they're used for.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, that would make sense. And even if you have a familiar, especially if you have a familiar, because a familiar can't attack unless you have it. Yeah. Anyway, find familiar. You could use the help action.
So there's a lot of like really good uses for it. It's not.
Not used.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd probably use help before I use dodge.
Yeah. 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 I mean, again, it's situational. You know, if you got that one guy that's coming up on you and it's going to be his turn right before your, right after yours, then dodge or disengage. But but if you know like it's going to be your turn, he's looking a little rough and that barbarian's coming up next, I would use help.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the help action is underutilized. It can definitely be better used. Yeah. It's situational. Um so what do we got next?
Hide.
Okay.
When you take the hide action, you make a dexterity stealth check in an attempt to hide, following the rules for hiding. If you succeed, you gain certain benefits, as described in the unseen attackers and targets section later in this chapter.
I like this one. I use this with my goblins as well. Because when you're hidden, the attackers need to use their turn to try to find you, or just swing blindly.
Yeah, there's a lot that there's a lot of I've seen a lot of DMs who are like, I'm playing with a ranged rogue that's really abusing the shit out of this, and they're trying to hide with their bonus action and then take an attack at and get the sneak attack bonus to that, and it's I haven't personally had that issue, but I know what a lot of people say is basically it has to make sense. Like there has to be, like if you're in the middle of an open field, like you can't just hide.
Right, you have to have something to hide. Like you can't just hide. And I'm pretty sure it says it in there.
Make an attempt to hide following the rules for hiding.
Yeah. So if you look at the rules for hiding, like there has to be something to hide. Like you have to have something to hide behind. You can't just hide. And that being said, once you hide, when you make an attack, you're no longer hidden. So, you know, yeah, Josh, look up the rule for hidden.
Okay.
While we're talking about this, but yeah, I would use this a lot, especially for low level and like minion NPCs or villains. Ranged attack. I would range, bonus action, hide. And I did that a lot.
Alright, I found it.
Okay, what does hidden say?
It says the GM decides when circumstances are appropriate for hiding. When you try and hide, make a dexterity check. Until you are discovered or stop hiding, the check total is contested by a perception check of any creature that's actively searching for signs of your presence. You can't hide from a creature that can see you clearly, and you give away your position if you make any noise, such as shouting a warning or knocking over a vase. An invisible creature can always try to hide. Signs of its passage might still be noticed, and it does have to stay quiet. In combat, most creatures stay alert for signs of danger all around. So if you come out of hiding and approach a creature, it will usually see you. However, under circumstances, the GM might allow you to stay hidden as you approach a creature that is distracted, allowing you to gain advantage on an attack roll until you're seen. Passive perception: when you hide, there's a chance someone will still notice you. If they aren't searching to determine whether a creature notices you, the GM compares your stealth check against the passive perception. One of the main factors in determining whether you can see a hidden creature or object is how well you see in the area. This might be lightly or heavily obscured, as explained in the environment.
Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, yes, it's DM's discretion, but I don't know that any DM would be like, you're in a grass field. You know, unless the grass is like up to your nipples, you can't just hide. You have to find somewhere to hide.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. I like this. I like the mechanic. Um, especially for your rogue that's proficient with a crossbow or, just a bow. Ranged attacks while being able to hide. Um, I see a lot of uses as just as using it for an action as well. You know, especially if you're squishy.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, the biggest thing I see DMs, because when you make an attack, you give away your location. You're not hidden anymore.
Right.
They want to hide again right away.
Um, it would really depend on for me as a DM. So let's say you're in a warehouse, right? And there's barrels and shit that you can hide behind.
Mm-hmm.
If you're hidden and you pop out to make an attack, um, I would say if you're gonna try to hide in the same spot, like just pop out, attack, and then go back, I would say you have to make a stealth check with disadvantage for the first time. After that, they know where you're shooting from. They're not dumb. The first time might be, oh, I didn't see where that came from. But
I don't
after
know.
that,
When I'm getting pelted by Jesse's goblins, I feel pretty dumb.
um, but that being said, it's situational, right? When you're getting pelted by my goblins, normally you're getting pelted in 6 different directions. So it's a little harder to pin them down because, as the hide action says, if you're being, it's harder for you to find something when you're engaged with something else or distracted.
I mean, I understand what you're saying. You have two different rules kind of contradicting each other.
Yeah.
Attacking unseen attackers and targets says specifically, if you're hidden, both unseen and unheard, when you make an attack, you give away your location whether the attack hits or misses. So
Yeah. No. Yeah.
Two words or one word. I don't know if it's all the same. Bear traps. That's all you need.
Now there's a feat that lets you stay hidden if you miss specifically.
Yeah.
You know, Skulker, I believe it is.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, you have, like I said, you have two different passages that are kind of contradicting each other, which they honestly did a pretty good job in 5e cleaning a lot of stuff up, but it does still exist.
Yeah. It's gonna exist in any game like
It
this.
is.
But I mean, like I said, it has to be justified, right? So like, I wouldn't. The only time that I've ever really used this and fucked some people up was that goblin trap that I had you guys come over the bridge, and they were hidden in the woods.
Right.
And it was thick, thick woods.
Mm-hmm.
So, in my mind, pop out, shoot, hide, bonus action to hide made sense. You knew the direction that it was coming from.
Can they bonus action? Can they? Now this is getting into the weeds. Can they bonus action to hide?
Mm-hmm.
I think goblins can, because I know slugs used to do it too.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I know they could do disengage and dash.
Yep. You can use hide as a bonus action as well.
Oh, disengage or hide. Okay.
Yeah, nimble escape.
Not dash. Never mind.
Yep. Which is why I loves me some goblins. And yeah, so I mean,
yeah, I mean it's tricky because then it's like even if you're doing that, like you make the attack, are you putting, you know, in our case we use grids pretty much exclusively.
mm-hmm.
Are you putting the mini down and then taking the mini back and saying he's hidden now?
I notate where they're at.
Oh, I know that you do, but
Yeah.
like, you know.
Yeah, no. Yeah, no. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. I get what you're saying. Like me, I notate exactly where they're at. Because when we played, I told you exactly where the arrows were coming from. You know what I mean? Like you knew where they were shooting from. You just had to find them.
Right. It's
which narrowed it down. You know what I mean? Because if you walk into a field and say, "Well, I'm going to search the field," your DC is like your DC's. I'll add to the stealth because you're searching an entire field. But like where you guys were looking, and the funny thing about that session, like the real funny thing about that session, the part that I enjoyed the most was even when you guys did roll to try to find them, you were missing by like one.
Yeah.
Like you so close. And then I think like once or twice you found like two or three of them. And then they just hid again. So they ran off and then hid back in the woods.
Yeah, and I remember I was pissed. Cuz the one used fucking disengage and I'm like, we're fucking AOO bullshit. Blah, blah, blah. You know.
Yeah.
I'm getting Sentinel level 4. How'd that go? Yeah. I was a barbarian. I just wanted to swing my fucking hammer.
Yeah. No, hide's cool. I like using it, especially with villains. Especially with low level villains. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like goblins are perfect, kobolds. Fun stuff that like realistically if you hit him, it was done. So he's gonna get his shots off while he can.
Yeah, especially with that character.
Yeah.
I think that character came into session 1 with like 18 strength, like raging on top of it.
Yeah.
You know, pretty much anything he hit was dead.
Wait, a barbarian rages?
Sometimes.
Wait, what?
That doesn't even make sense.
No, they only rage at the end of the combat. When they have
Right.
like 2 hit points left.
No, fuck that. Like, I remember there was a couple times where like I'm like I rage and Brandon's like, you really want to do that for this fucking stupid one goblin? I'm like, yeah, I guess not.
Yeah, we have the opposite
Yeah.
problem on our game. Like, so Monday they fought a boar, like a giant boar.
Yeah.
He goes the entire time, no rage, right?
Why?
Hold on, it gets better. And then like we're like 4 rounds into this giant boar, and he rages,
And
Like-
then misses.
and then
Mind
misses.
you.
Was there like an RP?
No,
He just didn't rage. Just didn't feel like it. Just had to get his nut up first.
I guess. I mean the reason is he's dumb.
Is yeah, but that's not
Right.
how okay. I hate this
No.
argument. I cannot stand this fucking argument. Right. Define he's dumb.
Right.
Because it's usually, oh, my int's 9, and it's like, okay,
You're a normal person.
like
Yeah.
10's like average intelligence. So, like, you're not the quickest dude in the, you're not the quickest dude, but you're not fucking mentally handicapped.
Yeah.
It gets worse. That wasn't even the worst of it. Then we started fighting death dogs and werewolves. So he's fighting a death
Devin.
dog. Yes. Fighting a death
So-
dog completely by himself, doesn't want to rage. So then he runs over to a werewolf that is
What
almost
kind of-
dead,
what
and then
subclass-
rages.
What subclass is he?
No idea.
He's totem, I think.
Which
So he
what level?
gets resistance to everything.
I mean, is he?
He
Is
took
he straight?
bear.
Is he?
like-
What level?
He's level 4.
Okay, then why the fuck wouldn't you rate? That's
Yeah, so you have resistance to everything. He had 3 hit points at the end of the battle.
because he didn't fucking rage.
Right. The one thing barbarians do.
Like
That's like having a wizard that's like, nah, man, I don't want to cast a spell.
in all seriousness, in all seriousness, like at low levels, I would say like 1, 2, 3, 4's kind of whatever for everybody. It's ASI. 5, you get your extra attack. I would say like 6 and down, you have a hard time beating. You can do it, depending on how you build the class and all this other stuff. Like 6 and down, you have a hard time beating the output and the survivability of a raging barbarian.
Right.
Like, you can do it if you're like, oh, my fighter has full plate and his AC is 20 and he's got this and that. Like, fantastic. I understand. I'm not saying you can't do it, but you have a legit hard time beating the output and the survivability. That can't do much else. Like, no casting. There's very little utility. You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
barbarians really aren't a utility class. But yeah, like, especially if if the DM's throwing that many fucking monsters at you, of course you gotta rage.
Yeah, so then he ends up raging at the very end, which I believe, like, he tried one attack. Once again, he got one attack when he raged, and he missed. So he wasted the rage again,
But rage,
and then they killed him next
like,
turn. Like,
you do that at the beginning. It has a minute. It lasts 10 rounds.
Yeah.
yeah,
And I don't know
you-
if it's just a lack of understanding how rage works. You don't need to hit. You need to attack
need to
or be
attack,
attacked.
yeah.
So I don't know if it. I don't.
It's not really like. I understand what you're saying, but that's not really an excuse because barbarians specifically have very short class feature boxes.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you and I can argue all day about danger sense, and some other things like that, but there's not much there. And if you're going to play barbarian, you have to understand rage.
Yeah.
Now, I am not a big fan of I'm going to cut myself so I can keep my rage up. I think that's metagaming. That's my personal opinion. Unless you're going
I
to
wouldn't allow it.
I wouldn't
I won't.
yeah.
That's not how that works.
Correct. I agree. I agree. But yeah, you have to, if you're going to play barbarian, you have to understand rage.
Well, but that's the other thing. Like, the reason he didn't want to use it when he was fighting the Death Thug is because the werewolves were on the other side. And he's like, well, it'll wear out. When I kill this Death Thug, I won't have it when I go to fight the werewolves. So then he's metagaming anyway.
Yeah.
Like, that's okay. But I don't know that that fight that we had in Mad Mage, the one that I referenced earlier, where we had goblins and then like bugbears patted into us. I want to say that that's the only combat that I've had in D&D that lasted anything close to 10 rounds. I mean, most combats, especially at that level, most combats are over in 5. Like, it feels like a long time because
every
player,
character
each
has
NPC
to
takes their turn, but like you're usually not
no,
getting
statistically if it's a fair match, you're getting about you're getting 6 to 7 rounds.
Yeah,
on the heavy end.
Yeah, that sounds about right. I would say, I would probably knock 1 or 2 off of that for an average, but yeah, I mean, use your fucking rage.
I mean, unless you're attacking your enemy with a spoon, and in that case, it may take a little longer.
Well, especially once you start raging, because a raging barbarian, especially at that level, there's not much, unless the DM's just being a complete prick about what he's throwing at you. Like, there's not much that's going to stand up to those attacks.
Mm-mm.
When you start rolling, depending on what kind of weapons you're using and whatnot, obviously. Like, for me, I was using a maul, so it was a 2d6.
Yeah.
I mean, I at level 1, I'm swinging 2d6 while I'm raging. I'm swinging like 2d6 plus 6 or some nonsense like that.
Yeah.
There's just not much at that level that's going to be able to take that attack. I mean, you're, by definition, even if you're rolling 2 1s, you're still doing 8 damage.
Yeah.
Goblin
well, you get
gonna...
when you rage, you get an extra
+2.
+2, yeah. So yeah, you're doing you're doing.
I mean, I want to say Locag had like 18 strength, so he was like +4 strength. So he was like +6 when he was raging.
So you're getting 2d6 +6 when you're raging.
That's for Locag. I mean, and that's atypical. He was a Goliath, so he had +2 strength, and that was his highest stat. So even if you're at a +3 strength, let's say on average, if you're going into it with a barbarian, you're going to take highest in strength or con, maybe depending on how you're playing it. I mean, I've seen barbarians do sword and board, so maybe like you're rolling a smaller damage die, but generally they're using 2-handers. I mean, so you're swinging a 1d12 or a 2d6 +5, being +3 from your strength bonus and +2 from your rage. There's just not much at that level that can take those hits.
Yeah, not consecutively. I mean, granted, the level that they're fighting now, level 4. I mean, most of your CRs, their HP is around 40.
I mean, depending on how many enemies you're throwing out and stuff, sure.
I'm saying, like, I try to balance it, right? I try to balance it per attack. So, I mean, but that's the thing too, right? So if I use more, I'm using a lower CR, which would be easy to wipe.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I'm saying at a balanced encounter where it's like almost a one-on-one, You're looking at 40. You're still looking at 40. Around 40, a little lower than 40 hit points. Normally around
Oh,
35.
okay. Let's say 40 HP and what 14 AC.
Yeah, I mean that's a good one.
I mean,
Yeah,
okay, so
right.
14 AC, so 14 AC. Let's say hypothetically you're sitting at 16, 17 strength. You have a +3 strength. You have a plus. What is it for? Is it still +2 or is it +3 proficiency?
4 is +3, I believe.
Okay, so
Is it
you're
4
sitting
or
at a
5 that it goes up, Josh?
What? I'm
Your
sorry.
proficiency bonus.
5, I think.
Oh, okay, so it's probably still +2.
okay, so +2.
Still,
So you're still attacking. You're still attacking at a +5 attack. So if they have a 14 AC, you have to roll a 9. So you have over a half a chance to roll an attack positively.
yeah,
Um, and then you're hitting for, let's say, a 1d12, so a 6.5 plus 5. They're going to be able to take 4 of those hits.
yep,
Just averages.
yeah. Which is the point of yep.
And on top of that, let's say they're hitting you for 2d6 plus 4 or something, and you have 30 HP, but you have resistance to fucking everything.
Yeah,
So effectively, you have 60 HP. And you probably have a little bit higher. It's probably going to be a little bit tougher for them to hit you than it is for you to hit them. That's
yep.
pretty typical. It's just, yeah.
Drink a
And
lot.
that's not even counting if that's not even counting, all your party members. If you focus fire on something, you're going to be taking something out you're going to be taking one enemy out around typically pretty reliably.
Yeah.
Depending on how you go about it. Now, if everybody's, and this is just, hey, I played WoW for fucking 10 years. You focus fire things. That's just how you do it. Because otherwise,
I mean, they spread out, but you're still normally like 2-on-1.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like you're normally at least a 2-on-1, unless you got one guy that can take you know like the lower level shit. You know what I mean? Like I'm hitting hard. I'll just take out all these lower level shits real quick.
Yeah.
While everybody else, you focus on the big bad, so that you're not taking all this cannon fodder. You know, but
Yeah, I mean, definitely
that's
rage.
yeah, that's I mean, yeah, it is what it is. It is.
And it really doesn't make any sense. And this is another one of those pet peeves I have, that like it might be metagaming, but like my brain is so hardwired this way that I can't get away from it. You get When you use your cooldowns, you get the highest effective time on them. Just, hey, if you're playing WoW and you're gonna blow a cooldown, you don't do it right before you run away from the boss, because then half of it's getting sunk into fucking bullshit.
Yeah.
If I'm raging at the beginning of combat so that I have the highest uptime on it.
Yep.
If I lose it for the last couple of rounds of combat because the combat goes 13 rounds, I lost 3 rounds. That's better than fucking
I
waiting
lost
until
6
rounds.
because
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Listen, if I'm gonna die because my rage ran out too soon, I'm gonna die happy.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. What were we talking about? We do this a lot. Hiding? That's where we were?
Fuck yeah.
How the fuck did we even get here?
Devin.
Alright. What's the next?
Ready. If we had people watching, they'd be really fucking drunk right now. Sometimes you want to get the jump on a foe or wait for a particular circumstance before you attack. To do so, you can take the ready action on your turn, which lets you act using your reaction before the start of your next turn. First, you decide what perceivable circumstance will trigger your reaction. Then you choose the action you will take in response to that trigger. If you choose to move up to your speed in response to it, or you choose to move up to your speed in response to it. Examples include: if the cultist steps on the trapdoor, I'll pull the lever that opens it. And if the goblin steps next to me, I move away. When the trigger occurs, you can either take your reaction right after the trigger finishes or ignore the trigger. When you ready a spell, you cast it as normal, but hold its energy, which you release with your reaction when the trigger occurs. To be ready, spell must have a casting time of 1 action, and holding on to the spell's magic requires concentration. Explained in Chapter 10. If your concentration is broken, the spell dissipates without taking effect. For example, if you're concentrating on web spell and ready magic missile, your web spell ends. And if you take damage before you release magic missile with your reaction, your concentration might be broken.
Sorry, my concentration was just broken.
So is this, when they say ready, is this held actions?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I just used different verbiage. That's what I thought.
Yep.
I wanted to make sure.
Yep.
Yeah, held actions. So this is a pet peeve of mine. Okay. It's your turn. What do you want to do? I'm gonna hold my action. Oh, okay. What are you holding? Oh, an attack. Oh, okay. What are you waiting for? Are you like when he gets close? If he attacks somebody else, like if you're gonna hold an action, know what the hell you're holding and why you're holding it, and explain that as soon as I say it. As soon as you say I hold my action, it should be I hold my action. If something gets close to me, I'm gonna fucking stab it. Or, I hold my action, or I'm gonna hold this spell. As soon as he hits like this area here, I'm gonna release it. Also realize that if you hold a spell and nothing happens that triggers it, you lose that spell slot. So be careful holding spells that aren't cantrips. Did I lose everybody?
No.
No, you're good. I'm not sure. It. What you're saying about holding spells and losing slots isn't defined here. So while I have seen people in the past do that, I'm not entirely certain that it's wrong. I agree with the logic of it, but it's not that particular thing is not outlined here.
It might be in casting.
It might be.
Because basically what you're doing, and it says it in that ready in action, you're pulling the energy up, right, to expel that spell.
Like I said, Jesse, I agree with the logic of it.
Yeah.
They go into quite a bit of detail specifically about readying spells, and it doesn't say anything about consuming a spell slot doing that. So
yeah. No. I have a feeling. Look, if it's not in there, it was probably something that I pulled from 3.5.
Okay. Yeah, and I have seen other DMs do that. It's not, it may be raw somewhere. It's just not in that particular passage.
I want to say that I read it, but I think it's in spellcasting, and I don't think we got there yet.
Right.
But
yeah, we'll get there eventually.
But yeah, that's.
I mean, it does say this is. I think this might be the same page. So it says when you ready a spell, you cast it as normal but hold its energy, which you release with your reaction when the trigger occurs. To be ready, the spell must be cast the cast time of one action, blah blah blah. If your concentration is broken. So, and it doesn't really say how long you can hold your action. So if you are holding it, but then you're like, well, for my action, if you're not casting it on your turn, then and you go to do something else, then yes, it should be lost.
Yeah.
But now, if you're like, all right, I'm gonna hold it for when them to move. If your turn comes up, that needs to be your action to cast the spell.
Right. I mean, I can see it being covered by that, and that is a really good one that you brought up there, Josh. I can see that being covered in you cast it as normal, because obviously casting it as normal would consume the spell slot.
Yeah. I think it's.
I just find it odd that it didn't specify. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. And it might not be, but that's how I always rule it.
Yeah,
I mean, that's how I've always seen it.
In the DMG, when it talks about reaction times, it just says if a reaction has no timing specified or the timing is unclear, the reaction occurs after its trigger finishes.
I think what I would let the player do, though, is if they wanted to ready a spell, and it was readied and they wanted to use it as their next action, but they couldn't, like, after that it's done regardless of whether they
I would allow that.
Like I ready a fireball, whatever trigger I said for the fireball, but in during my next turn the action's still held, I can throw that fireball.
I would even go as far as, like, with that, like, let's say you're setting up a trap, right? And that fireball, that's your, so when target A steps on this block, I'm releasing fireball.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to hold my spell. When it comes back around to your turn, if that target did not touch that spot, or no target touched that spot, I would even allow you to hold the action again, making a concentration check.
This is actually something that you're going to be a little bit more lenient on than I would be. To me, that next turn, it either dissipates or you use it. Like, you can't ready it indefinitely.
No. It would have to be used. But, like, I'm thinking, like, to ready a spell and to hold the energy, 6 seconds is a lot. Is not a lot of time. I would say I would allow them to hold on to it for another round. But it would be.
That's what I was. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Oh no, that's what I was reading from the Dungeon Master's Guide. It says you can hold an action, but you can't do anything else
until that action's complete.
So the moment you do something else, you lose it.
Yeah. But I would give them the option to go, okay, well, that trigger never happened. You can do one of two things. You can expend the fireball. You can cast it, or you can continue to hold it, but that's your action.
See, I might go with that, but you would make your concentration would be at disadvantage. Like, I just feel like holding a spell that long is going to be rough. But I don't know. We're kind of splitting hairs.
Yeah. But this I use this a lot. The readying or held actions. I use it a lot because I like to set things up. As a DM, as a player, no, I hardly ever use it because I'm too dumb and I just run in and do dumb shit.
Oh, hey, hold on. I just found something else.
Oh, where are we at?
This is from Jeremy Crawford,
Okay.
which, for people that don't know, he's a very big, important person when it comes to D&D. And someone asked him, how does readying a spell work? Do you lose your spell slot if the trigger effect never occurs? It says a readied spell slot is lost if you don't release the spell with your reaction before the start of your next turn. It says, he says but you can maintain if you can maintain your concentration on the readied spell until the start of your next turn, but no longer.
Okay.
But he says that's what I do as a DM, but that's my house rule. But I mean,
Yes. So
which is funny that he, which it's funny that he has house rules.
yeah,
Right. The guy who writes the rules
has his own
has house
rule.
rules.
Yeah, I mean, I understand why it's funny. It's one of those things like where I feel like, and this is a pretty consistent feeling, and I think I've talked about this before, is that I feel like with 5e they wanted to write the things in stone that they wanted in stone,
Yeah.
and then they wanted to leave kind of
Certain stuff open-ended.
right, like, because the problem with it is like it's not really. I don't know if I want to get into fair necessarily, but the problem is that like how you just like you put out your player's handbook and then you have to make modifications like Xanathar's guide or the DMG or whatever. But like if you're just gonna continually do that, like you need 10 fucking books to have all the rules, and
Yeah.
that gets cumbersome and expensive.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. No. I get it. It's just that just
Oh
friggin'
yeah.
that's hilarious to me.
It's humorous. It's definitely.
I mean, we also have to understand that 5e is written differently than most of the other editions.
Mm-hmm.
5e was written with the idea of new players.
Right.
Other editions were not.
Correct.
Other editions were, so we built on the rules that we already had. Remember those. Here's some more. or we're doing this a little different.
Right. And I have some experience with 3.5, none with 4.
For what?
But fourth edition
Of
of the Encyclopedia Britannica.
Oh, okay. The fourth edition
Yeah.
encyclopedia. What
Yeah.
would that have to
It
do
was
with Dungeons and Dragons?
well because sometimes there's words that you need to look up to
Got
use
you.
in the
Got you.
edition.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Right.
Yeah.
He just
Um,
really hates the encyclopedias. That's all. He's just making mention of it.
no, I think he really just wants to forget 4E. Um,
4e of the encyclopedia. Right.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Right, because there was no 4e.
No, it went. That was what 3.5 was.
Right.
It was
They
kind
just
of like when they had the iPhones and they were like, you know what? Nobody wants an iPhone 9, right? Everybody, listen. Everybody wants the iPhone X. Okay, fuck 9. Okay, we're not doing it. We're jumping directly from 8 to 10.
Yeah, it's just one of those things. It's like jumping into a skyscraper. They never have a 13th floor.
But
4 doesn't
yeah,
exist.
yeah. It's 3.5 was a lot more rules dense, and there's a lot of things that we can
Yeah.
point to and say, well, this makes sense how they did it here, and that's fine. You can incorporate those types of rules into your game if that's what you want to do. 5e was meant to be accessible,
Yeah.
and given that as the maybe not the stated goal but the pretty obvious goal, I think they've done a pretty good job with that, because they've increased their player base substantially in 5e.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at the number of players that you have, it's insane compared to what
I
3.5
I do
had.
think it's funny Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, it's cool. It's cool.
I do think it's funny that, you know, they had. So I started playing when it was ADD.
Yeah.
Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. Um, so 3 was good, but it could have been better. That's when they came out with 3.5, which kind of ironed out some of like the shit that didn't make sense.
Well, and that saying, I understand what you're saying, and I'm not disagreeing with you, but saying, oh, 3 was good, but it could have been better. There's always a balancing point between
Yeah.
making it better in terms of like making it more realistic and making the mechanics more true to life, and making it accessible.
Yeah. So here's what they did, and this is why I find it funny. I agree with you. So what they did was, 3.5 versus 3 was a little bit more in depth.
Mm-hmm.
So then and 3.5 was a hit. So then they went, we're going to make 4. 4 is going to be crazy insane. And the combat is so intense as far as like the rules that even veteran players were like, what is this? And then did the exact opposite for 5.
Well, I mean, and
which is cool. It's awesome.
Yeah, well, at the end of the day, it's a business,
Mm-hmm.
and you see this in video games, you see this everywhere. Sure, you can have super hardcore players that will spend a lot of money on your product and stuff, and buy an infinite number of books and stuff like that. But typically, where you're going to make the most money is if you can appeal to the biggest demographic, if you can get the most people involved.
Mm-hmm.
I have a prejudice against 3.5 because I find people that I want to play with or that want to play with me, I have certain ones that advocate hard for 3.5. And I find that the biggest reason they want to play 3.5 is because they want a power game.
Yeah.
That's been my experience from the player base, is like, I want to do 3.5 so I can do this insane multi-class that can do these kind of things, because 3.5 was based on a bonus system, not on an advantage disadvantage system.
Yep.
So in 3.5 you could stack your bonuses and you could have a plus 15 to attack because you had bonuses coming in from all over the place, whereas 5e has bonuses, but a lot of the things that we get put it like this. A lot of the things that we get advantage and disadvantage on in 5e and 3.5 would have been expressed as bonuses of different extents.
Yep.
Whereas you can homebrew double disadvantage, double advantage, triple advantage, etc. And I have seen people do that, and
I've done it.
Yeah, personally, I like it where you say, okay, advantage takes 1, double disadvantage takes 3. If you can get to 7 things that give you advantage on something, you can get triple advantage, right? But you have that exponential increase. Regardless, 3.5 was based on a system where it said, okay, you're going to get plus 2 from this, plus 3 from this, plus 1 from that, plus 4 from this. You're going to add up all your bonuses and add them to your roll.
Yep.
Which is how you arrive at plus 15 attack or whatever, right?
Yep.
Instead of I'm flanking, I get advantage on attack. Oh, I'm flanking, I get plus 3 to my attack.
Yeah.
I'm hidden, so I get another plus 5. And I go around and I'm picking all these pluses all over from all over the place, and I'm ending up with some ridiculous bonus that really.
I mean, 3.5 was really. I love 3.5 because it was it made you think tactically.
Well, I think it was a very important stepping stone on the way to where we are now.
Yeah.
I feel like 3.5 broadened the classes a lot. They got to play around with a lot of mechanics that they hadn't previously. A lot of different subclasses. 3.5 is the first one where I can remember just a plethora of subclasses.
Yeah, I think 3.5 is the mother of 5.
Absolutely.
4 is the dad that went out for cigarettes and never came back.
Yeah, but like I said, I have a prejudice against 3.5 because typically when I see players wanting to play it, it's because they want a power game, and it's
Yeah. No.
I
And
prefer 5 for that.
I've seen people play 5 and homebrew that they're well, not homebrew. They'll play 5 for the most part, but their combats run as 3.
Right. I mean, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's certain things from 3.5 where, you know, and this is an example that I use a lot because it's a pretty basic thing, but it's something that makes a lot of sense. Is flat-footed.
Yep.
Flat-footed was basically, there were instances where you did not get your agility bonus, or your dexterity bonus rather, to your AC.
Yep.
So if you were getting attacked by a hidden character, like the premise being, if you're fighting somebody and you don't know where they're coming from, you don't get your dexterity bonus to your AC, because your dexterity bonus should be, oh, I'm dodging the person. Well, if you can't see who
Can't see him, you
attacking
can't dodge.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, oh, you're flat-footed, you don't get to add your dex bonus to your AC. Makes perfect sense.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Not arguing the logic of it, but it just adds another layer of complexity onto it.
Yep.
You know. So.
Yeah, and if you want that complexity, it's there. It's just in different editions.
That's well, and it's not. It wouldn't be something that would be at all difficult to homebrew into 5e. I mean,
nope.
It's you know, the way your AC is determined is pretty simple.
Yep.
You know, if you say, hey, you know, if you were to say, now you'd have to word it in a way that made sense, but basically, if you don't see your attack coming, you don't get your AC, you don't get your dex to AC.
Yep.
You know. So, and you can incorporate a lot of that stuff in, but yeah.
Drink. Yeah. No, I agree. Where the hell were we?
Did you know you can search?
For what?
How do you search?
Well, apparently you can search for like the actual thing that we're trying to discuss.
You know, I keep searching for my Leatherman and I just can't find it, and it's pissing me off.
Have you tried the sex dungeon?
What's that?
Nothing. So when you take the search action, you devote your attention to finding something. Depending on the nature of your search, the DM might have you make a wisdom perception check or an intelligence investigation check.
I feel like we covered that.
Yeah, we probably talked about it. This is probably one of our tangents that we went on a long time ago.
Yep. You can also use an object.
What kind of object?
Ryan used me as an object.
I think I've seen that on the Hub channel. Anyway, you normally interact with an object. If you give me a chance to use an Office reference,
I'm gonna fucking do it.
Oh, I thought you were making it like Hex 2. Never mind.
Sorry.
I got where both of you were coming from. That's why that's funny to me.
Yeah. You normally interact with an object while doing something else, such as when you draw a sword or as part of an action. When an object requires your action for its use, you can take the use an object action. This action is also useful when you want to interact with more than one object on your turn.
Yeah, this is normally like what they're talking about, like when you're using. Would this be considered like using potion? Because they say that using a potion is an action. I allow my groups to use it as a bonus action.
So there's there's the interacting with objects around you one.
Yeah.
But this is, I guess, if you want to do. So if you're pulling out your sword and drinking a potion at the same time, that is an action. So like you can't pull out your sword and drink a potion, and if you can,
Yeah.
I think that's what it's trying to say.
See, I was going with like using a fucking wand.
A wand?
Yeah, like pew pew. I don't know how else to express casting from a wand.
I mean, mine usually make a different noise, but okay, whatever. Pew pew, I guess, works for you.
I mean, I always imagine wand of magic missile. So to me, that's what magic missile sounds like.
That's what he calls his the wand of magic missile.
Mine always hits.
Except for when they use shield.
Yeah. Hardly ever though. Oddly enough.
That's why you have 2 kids.
Yeah.
Not yet.
Got past shield twice. Yeah, reacting with objects. It's gonna be it's getting late.
That's why you quicken magic missile.
Yeah. Yeah, dealing with objects, it depends on the objects because, a lot of the objects that you can use are free action, right? Because interacting with a doorknob, now
Well,
turning a doorknob or opening a doorknob is a free action, but if you're picking a lock, it's an action.
Well, it does specify here, this action is also useful when you want to interact with more than one object on your turn.
Yeah.
So if you wanted to open a doorknob and then fucking, I don't know, throw the torch in the fire or something, I don't know what else you would do. Usually after I open a doorknob, I attack something, so.
Yeah. It doesn't even have to be anything in the room, he just attacks.
I mean, yeah, just go over to this block, I want to attack this block. It's going to be a disadvantage, that's fine. Roll a 20, you broke that fucking chair good.
So that being said, it is almost 11 o'clock. So,
we literally got one through one section.
Oh, how many more are there?
That was
quite a bit.
That was the meatiest.
Okay.
The next we have making an attack, and that involves attack rolls, ability modifiers, rolling a 1 or a 20, range, close combat, opportunity attacks, 2-weapon fighting. Like that was by far the meatiest section right there.
I don't know. Damage and healing is going to be a pretty meaty section.
That's true.
All right.
Yeah, that's very true. Yeah, I might have misspoke.
So next week on Combat, part 17.
Part 3.
No, we're on part 4.
No, we're on 4. This is 3.
Are we on 4?
Yeah, this is 3.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, maybe we should have thought this out a little better.
What is there to think out? I mean, other than
I don't know.
like, not, unless you want to give Josh like a buzzer that like, we're only allowed to tangent for 30 seconds at a time. and then he just gets to buzz the channel, so we have to stop.
Look, I've been trying to get him at work. I'll get some shock collars. We'll make this a thing. I mean, to be fair, we've been streaming for about 2 hours, and I think 30 minutes of it was actually on the content that we were trying to talk about.
Yeah.
Depends how you define it, but I'm not going to disagree too hard.
I timed it.
I would not even put that past you for a minute.
No, it was actually 12.5 seconds. But...
All right, guys. Yeah, it's getting late. We're gonna pick up next week with Combat Part 3, 4. Jesus. Yeah. So
only 3 more episodes, then we get to spells.
yeah. Oh Lord. All right. So with that being said, like I said, if you're watching us on YouTube, don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that notification button, and come join us on Wednesdays. You can join this chat and be a part of our ramblings, or just tell us to get back on subject.
Or drink along with me.
Yeah, or get drunk with Josh. So, yeah, that's what I got. Until tomorrow, where we will be doing some more crafting. We're gonna finish up the painting. Well, hopefully we'll. No, we won't. No, we won't. We'll be painting the portal. We'll be painting the portal, and we will be working on the pillars a little bit.
And maybe eventually you'll be painting arson too.
I do have to catch up on minis very, very badly, so I may take a break from the portal next week, at the beginning of the week, to do some mini painting. Because I need to catch up badly.
We also need to start talk on bringing back the one-offs too.
Yes.
Yeah.
So until tomorrow, internets.
Yeah.
Goodbye.
Yeah. I'm out. Bye, internets.
Bye, internet.